Does this wind up bringing in new investors?
Absolutely. I think that this is a major new development in the legal and regulatory certainty for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I think it'll bring in new investors in a few respects. First of all, there hasn't really been a truly regulated, overseen market. Although people talk about cryptocurrency exchanges, in fact, that word is really just an analogy. From a regulator's perspective, an exchange has it's overseen, it has trading rules, it has surveillance, and it has discipline. Now, these instruments will trade on a market that's overseen by the CFTC. They'll be traded on an exchange, they'll be cleared in a clearinghouse, and they will be subject to a lot of oversight that never existed before. And many investors are drawn, of different kinds, to regulated markets.
Well, but Jeff, you can't physically deliver the contracts, though, right? So how is it going to work?
Right. So the way it'll work, this will be a cash-settled contract. And in the early days of the futures markets, they began as physically settled contracts for commodities for farmers and ranchers to hedge their products. But one of the great innovations of the 70s and 80s was the ability to have cash-settled contracts. So for that, you need an index price, which the exchange obtains, and then people invest based on the movement of the exchange. So investors will not actually have to invest in physical Bitcoin. Now, I think for many investors, that will be a big advantage that will attract new pools of investment here. There are well-documented difficulties in physically holding these assets. Many charters or investment guidelines of some organizations do not permit them to do that. So you have a bit of, part of the new economy. For many, the ability to hold these digital assets outright is part of what's exciting, part of the genius of Bitcoin and Satoshi's white paper and blockchain. But for many other investors, it's too much of a challenge. And so being able to hold it through an exchange and a clearinghouse is actually more comforting and trustworthy.